Hey everybody, welcome to the April 22nd edition of the Intuit Developer Friday Morning Hangout. I'm your host, David Leary. I'm an Intuit Developer evangelist, slowly evolving into a small business ecosystem evangelist. If you've seen any title changes lately, I will get this slide updated as well. You can always follow me on Twitter at David Leary, or you can follow Intuit Developer at Intuit Dev. Assuming if you've made it to this or found this video, you probably found it via Twitter, so definitely connect with us on those channels. Today we have a special guest, Joe Woodard from the Woodard Group, and the Scaling New Heights conference that a lot of you are familiar with, is here today to talk about what services for developers the Woodard Group offers, talk about Scaling New Heights and the huge event that's 30 days away. He's also going to talk about kind of just general the importance of engaging these accounting professionals, and we'll have a discussion about that. If any of you are watching this live, you can join. I put the join URL in the comments below, so you can join and participate with audio and video if you'd like. If you don't want to do that and you want kind of more of that YouTube experience, you can always open up the Q&A panel and answer questions to that panel, and I will ask those to Joe as we go along. Next week, we are going to have Jared Keneally. He's going to be on, and he's going to be talking about Qbo Price Levels. So as price levels get introduced to Qbo, we want to get feedback from developers on how those APIs should work and what your product needs are. So we're kind of so as we add features to Qbo now, we're in parallel working on the developer API part of it, so that way it's not playing catch up 2 years later. So we definitely want to get some of your advice on price levels next week. With that said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And Joe, you may need to flip your camera on. I think I just have your smiling face. And say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks for having us, Joe. Joe, I'll let you share if you need to share your browser, but please tell us a little about yourself and how what the Woodard Group does.
Yeah, no problem. And then I just figure I'll just kind of talk it out, and then we'll maybe pop over to my website where there's some resources if folks have questions, and we can use those as a visual reinforcement. But I want to say, David, thanks for having me on. You and I both work very heavily with the developer community. I think a lot of the folks that are tuned in today have had some sort of exposure to us before. If you've not, I'll just kind of say very simply that we are Intuit's preferred event management partner and training partner to accounting professionals globally. And in that capacity, we produce all of Intuit's virtual conference experiences. We have produced the accountant training at the last 2 QuickBooks Connects. And we host Scaling New Heights, which we manage directly in cooperation with Intuit. And it is the largest gathering of certified QuickBooks Pro advisors anywhere in the world. So we are very, very tightly connected to the Intuit story, and we understand Intuit's goals in the space, and we work alongside Intuit in that way. But David asked me to kind of share, if we're talking about accountants, and that is the expertise Woodard brings to the table. We're trainers of accountants. We are ourselves accounting professionals. We're practicing pro advisors. I've been a pro advisor since the late 90s. And helped to design the certification programs along the way for Intuit for that community. So we get the accountants, we get what they're trying to accomplish, and we work very tightly with Intuit's Accountant Advisor Group and Jim McGinnis, Chris Hamilton, Luis Sanchez on all of those goals for that community. So what are my career-long kind of learnings and engaging them? And I'm not talking about just engaging them as maybe an accountant coach would do. What are my learnings on engaging them for the software developer community that we consult with? And if I could boil it down, I've just got really 3 macro points, and some questions might drive some additional commentary here. But first, focus on educating them. And I don't mean just educating them on the mechanics of your product. You will not win their hearts until you win their minds, and you won't even turn their head until you present to them some kind of meaningful educational moment. Now, there are ways that you can, if you're saying, if I'm not educating them on my product, what am I educating them on? What am I talking about? Well, your product speaks to a business need, a business case, something that you validated is a pain point within the small business community, and you have expertise on whatever that pain point is. The best case scenario is where your product either has high adoption within an industry niche or is designed around an industry niche So you can educate them out of your knowledge about that industry category. It could be feet on the street knowledge. It could be very empathetic level pain identification and pain solution, where you're running a ground game, or it could be the data that you've accumulated over the years as you've worked with multiple developers. It doesn't really matter, how you present it. I think it's both and is best. The point is you're empowering them to better service that particular profession. And that's a key area of education. Now, if it's not a niche, it could still be education within the larger category. So if you're document management, you're pretty horizontal, but you can train to the category by talking about privacy standards for certain kinds of businesses and the way that you manage compliance in that area. You can talk about the importance of document collaboration, and maybe you've run some usage studies and business case studies on efficiencies around that and the ROI attached to those efficiencies. Educate to those pieces that are trans product, and you're doing two things. You're not just turning the accountant's mind by because they're education driven, but you're also giving them what they need to carry the value prop through to their small business clients. And when they do carry that value prop through, they will naturally have your product tucked under their arm. So educate, drive them to the niches, and drive them to specialized training, which are really two sides of the same coin, but it's 1 and 2 on my talking points. And my third talking point is partner. And I don't mean partner in name only. Take Intuit as the lead. Intuit does a really good job genuinely partnering with the professionals, devoting a tremendous amount of energy that doesn't have anything directly to do with the product, and a tremendous amount of resources against that. They're a perfect model for the partnership approach. But form a partnership program that transcends your product. Structure it so that it empowers the advisor to better support their clients holistically, and then you'll endear yourself to them. You'll make those deposits in the goodwill bank that will drive that product adoption and that product evangelism. You want product evangelism. You don't want product recommendation. And you can't get to evangelism until you've won their hearts. You can't get to their heart until you've gone through their mind. And they've got to know that you are deeply connected to their success as a professional. The moment that an accountant begins to sense the math that your bean counters and your marketing folks and your sales projection folks are running on, behind the scenes, once they start to sense that they are a means to product movement for you, then it is game over. And I will tell you, their radar on that's very high. So it's not just a matter of treating them like that and then hiding your strategy. Change your entire culture, change your entire mindset so you genuinely are engaged with them around mutual success, then enjoy the benefits of the mutual part of that success. And again, Intuit's provided a framework there, and I would suggest paralleling running your partnership in parallel to Firm of the Future. If you're not familiar with the model, you can go to firmofthefuture.com. In firmofthefuture.com, Intuit is, that'd be great. Intuit is laid out what they see as the path to not just success later, but success now. That's a misunderstanding that Firm of the Future is not about something you're going to do 5 years from now. It's something you do now as you engage with the future of your firm, right? So you begin with the end in mind, but you begin now. And the 3 legs of Firm of the Future are get connected, meaning get social, get online, so adopt cloud solutions, and don't just adopt them because being online is somehow an end goal into itself. Cloud, as you all know, is a means to an end. It is not the end. The end goal is practice efficiency, practice automation, and the transformation of the small business client through the tools that I have in my tool bag. So if I transform myself, I transform my clients, and I do it through cloud solutions, I'm a Firm of the Future. The third component of Firm on the Future, you've got Get Connected, you've got Get Online, okay? And then in the third component of Firm of the Future, and I've said this so many times, and all of a sudden now I'm drawing a blank. Help me, David. Third leg. Can't believe this.
Become a trusted advisor.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Become a trusted advisor. Yes, the most important one. So Intuit, and this is the crazy thing is Woodard's entire model is built around this. So I'm just drawing a weird senior moment there, but Woodard and Intuit are both laser focused on transforming the small business from a compliance and historical focus to a focus that is directly connected to measurements around small business growth. So the way Ron Baker says, and he's driving a lot of the trusted advisor and value pricing piece of Firm of the Future, the way Ron Baker describes it, most accountants are about 2 steps removed from where they need to be. First, they're selling hours. And when they're selling hours, they're selling a product that the small business owner isn't buying. Nobody buys hours. They only buy what they hope to be a benefit from the expenditure of the hours. So just stop selling the middle piece. Or as Ron was using in his analogy, stop selling drills and start selling holes, because holes are what people buy.
Yep.
So the second mistake that accountants make, they confuse fixed pricing with value pricing, and they say we've arrived. Well, all they're really doing in fixed pricing, they're masking their hourly rate. They're still, the philosophy behind it and the approach behind it is still internally focused. I know I'm going to incur so much X amount of cost. I need X amount of margin. Therefore, I'm going to charge my client X price. That's great maybe in a widget and gadget world, but in a professional service world, not only is it not marketable and not connected to why I'm in the profession, it's not connected directly to the benefit to the client, it's connected to the benefit to me directly, but it also distracts the client and leaves money on the table. I mean, it distracts the accountant, excuse me, and it leaves money on the table. Now, I'm focused on my internal efficiencies and measurements. If I can get faster, more and more efficient, more and more streamlined, systematized, then my profitability goes up. So I'm inward focused. But it leaves money on the table because I'm not connecting what I am charging the client to the actual wealth that I've generated. So Ron Baker says the best approach, and I'm going to connect this back to the role you guys play as developers. Ron Baker says the best approach is for the accountant to bill as a percentage under the wealth that we generate. All right, that takes a lot of risk off the table for the small business owner. It puts the risk, quite frankly, where it belongs. It belongs on the person who's trying to earn the profit. Trying to earn profit without risk is myth, or at least it's paper thin. So it puts the risk on the accounting professional, and it makes the accounting professional deliver against the value, or they don't get paid. Now here's the power of it. When that accountant actually does generate the wealth, by billing as a percentage under wealth, not a percentage over cost, they can get disproportionately higher profit margins. I mean, talking about insanely higher profit margins in the 4- and 5-digit increases by percentage in profit margin just because of that change in focus. And I use an example of a client that I have. They're a $30 million construction client. And when we build this, we weren't as savvy on the value pricing approach as we are now. I mean, we've been at this engagement for about 3 years with them, completely changing the way that their infrastructure works through custom deployed, custom developed software, and we're building all that on the Method platform. Well, this is a $30 million construction company. As we're beginning to see and beginning to measure the benefits of this infrastructure change, we're realizing that we're going to increase that client's wealth in the neighborhood of around $6 million across the 3 years. Plus, there's a long tail benefit ongoing for the client, but just during the period where we're engaged, because that's $90 million in revenue. So you put it in that perspective, we're talking about a 3% increase in overall profit. It probably is going to be higher than that, but we're going to say conservatively, we've generated $6 million of increased wealth. If we had approached the client,
because you're coming in as the advisor, right? You're helping
we're
them.
Coming in as an advisor,
implementing this,
holistically approaching the client's need. We didn't go in as method resellers. We went in as business advisors, and then that led to a deep engagement with method. Well, if we had we were going to end up billing around $600,000, somewhere right in there, $700,000. That's not a small engagement for a QuickBooks Pro advisor, right? It's not a small engagement for a method solution provider, and they tend to be at the top of billings in the community. But had we gone in instead and said, you're going to have a long tail benefit over the life of your company, but you're going to generate around $6 million in ROI, increased wealth over the first 3 years, give us 20% of just your increase on those 3 years that we're engaged with you, I would have turned $600,000 in billings into $1.2 million. And so I've left money on the table by not value pricing, even though it is an extremely profitable engagement for me. Okay, now take those 3 pillars of Firm of the Future. And by the way, that's an extreme example. Most of the accountants you're working with are going to be playing with numbers in fractions of that. But the point is the model plays out, however the percentages pare down. And if you will partner with the accounting community saying, we are going to help you get online by giving you content marketing that you can use to promote your newfound expertise within a certain niche or within a certain business function-based specialization. We're going to feed you this somehow, and we're going to talk about you online. We're going to talk about our community. We're going to drive traffic through our social networks to our directory that'll drive people by extension to you. We're going to follow what you're doing in your practice, and we're going to tweet about it. We're going to do little tweetable case studies around your success stories as our partner. Then you're helping them get online.
So instead of me, so if I'm a developer, instead of me just trying to sell my app, I should just ensure I get an army of advisors that just love me and evangelize me, and I just help them be successful, and I'll naturally reap those benefits.
You'll naturally reap the benefits, but then in the process, while you're telling the success of ProAdvisor ABC, you're also providing case studies and proof cases for all the advisors who haven't yet engaged with you. So this is what makes it such a perfect win-win. You're not just speaking to your users, helping them to gain traction within your user base, which, by the way, takes pressure off of your support teams and reduces churn on your user base. So you want to do that anyway. But part of your audience are going to be the accounting professionals, and if you're using their handles and their hashtags, then their accounting peers are going to pick that up, and you're going to get deeper levels of engagement within your community. But your primary focus is on taking your existing community members and helping them to get online, get connected, and while they're there, telling a unique story around their certification of your product and, more importantly, around their newfound expertise in your business category. The second category of Firm of the Future is about, you've got get online. Just going to repeat them again. You got get online, you've got get connected, and you've got become a trusted advisor. So in this whole adoption of cloud, right? I'm assuming most of the people that are tuned in here are cloud solutions or have cloud offerings. If not, you probably talk to QBO. There's a connection to the cloud somewhere there. But if you're a cloud solution and you're helping them to adopt your solution, then you're partnered with Intuit around that Firm of the Future adoption. If you're driving them to QBO and helping to drive their clients to QBO, then that also positions them for the inevitability of Intuit's user base. So I mean, yes, that's 20% is still QBO versus the 80% is desktop, but we have to look at not where it is now, but we have to look at where it's trending, and the trend is hockey stick toward QBO, right? To partner with the accountants, you have to prepare them for the hockey stick change that's imminent, and that's, I think that's more core. You don't need me to tell you to get accountants on the cloud. I mean, this is more germane to what you do every day. I want to focus on that last piece. how you can partner as a software developer with accountants to help them become trusted advisors. And this I have to defend all the time to my audience. They say, you know, your vision statement is to transform small business through small business advisors. Your purpose statement is to empower small business advisors. But when you go to the consulting, yeah, sure,
Joe. I think everybody listening, Joe was interviewed. I think you were on a podcast, the Profit First podcast.
Yes.
How do you say his last name? John.
Mike McAllowitz.
Mike McAllowitz. On Mike's podcast, I'm just do it that way. And Joe talks for about a half hour about how he evolved getting to that mission and his purpose statement. And it's a worthwhile podcast to listen to because he really did it in the presence of helping accountants arrive at the same type of conclusion and purpose and mission statement. But I think his developers could actually learn from that too. It's a really excellent podcast if you guys go back and probably look for that. And I'll try to get it in the comments of the YouTube video and stuff afterwards.
Oh, that'd be great. Yes, yes.
Thank you. At least.
Because when we say vision at Woodard, we don't mean just something that sounds good that a PR team put together. This is something we live by, right? But this is the thing. If you want to put up woodardconsulting.com, this is what I have to defend. And I'm going to use my defense to my audience as the sort of the teaching point here, or the bullet point. They say if it's about transforming small business through small business advisors and your driving purpose is to empower small business advisors, why are you spending so much time partnered with accountants? And sometimes I'll even get the accusation that I'm just following the money, right? But actually, and that's just a fraction of the money we actually, I mean, the accountant empowerment is actually our core model. But there's so much of that out there, right? So much of that sort of mercenary, sell my opinion as a thought leader stuff happening, and we all see it, and you can smell it a mile away. But the main page at woodardconsulting.com says it all. That we are partnering with software developers to empower small business advisors. In other words, the very content that we're talking about here is the appetizer for the coaching we provide, which is a meal. I was just at LexisNexis yesterday where we're building an accountant channel for them. We just engaged Notify to build an accountant channel for them. And then we are in conversations, very promising conversations with a partner I can't disclose, but everybody here would know, very, very, very big partner opportunity for us around the nonprofit profession. and this one's just now come to the table. And we're looking to maybe hit field service by the end of the year. So we're taking a categorical approach, but we're building channels, and our goal with Lexis isn't primarily so that Lexis can move 1,000 or 2,000 units of Firm Manager, their new cloud product. Our goal and Lexis's goal is one and the same, to educate the accountants on how to best support law firms, knowing, because they've bought into this principle we've talked about, knowing that if they will turn the accountant's head, they'll get the accountant's heart, right? The mind, the heart. And they have all this wealth of knowledge. They know exactly how to relate to lawyers. They've had law channels forever. They have done research for lawyers. They know every pain point. They know every need. They know every operational component. You know, they have data points that would rival anybody's on the planet. So we're the bridge between that wealth of knowledge and the translation to the accounting professional. Once the accountant goes through our channel certification and channel education, they will know how to measure success for an accountant. They will know how to speak to an lawyer's pain, how to measure success for a lawyer. They will know how to, now I want to call it sell solutions because they don't like that sell word as accountants. Don't use it with them. But they'll know how to recommend solutions that transform the way that law firm operates. And there's the tie back, right? We partner with Lexis. We help Lexis create better and better product. We build an educational channel around their deep knowledge in a category. And then we, by doing so, empower that small business advisor to transform that law firm. And in the midst of all of that, Lexis moves their thousands and thousands of units of Firm Manager. See how the model works?
So I'm an app developer. I know a niche or an industry pretty well. I'm going to have my team create as much content and training as possible for the accountants to learn as much about that industry as possible and digest it, so they can look like the geniuses, right? When they go and help these clients out, like they
right.
I always like the term, like, how if an accountant can feel like a hero, or show, like, when the client turns to the accountant, like, oh my gosh, you're a hero, because you're the only one that had this answer. I think that's like a strong message. You can make the accountant feel like the hero. It's always like a really good idea.
That's exactly right. And you're making them the hero, right? I mean, and that's part of the empowerment. Our software clients have partnered with us around that same driving purpose. We're going to jointly empower the small business advisor, and we're not going to do it we're going to do it in a very targeted way that again ties to Firm of the Future. We're going to turn them into forward-looking, wealth-generating small business advisors. We're going to help them get online. We're going to help them get connected and tell a content-driven story online. That's the whole of what I came here to say. Unless you have questions or comments, David.
Not a little bit. You really maybe repeat your purpose again, because I think if we want to jump in like on your website and kind of show about the specifics, products, and services you do, I think showing, like, because really repeating that, I think it's really powerful. Your mission, your purpose, and it drives. Really, when you go to your website, you can see it build out from there.
Exactly. You see how everything fits in. Our vision is to transform small business through small business advisors. Now, we do define small businesses up to 50 million in sales, so small to medium-sized businesses, right? So we want to transform the SMB through SMB advisors, and therefore our purpose that drives everything we do is we empower small business advisors. And if I can say at any given moment I'm empowering a small business advisor or multiple ones, then I am, and like right now, I would say I am on purpose, because the developers that are listening to what I have to say are going to better partner with and better advise and better support the accounting community. So I'm empowering small business advisors right now, right? I'm on purpose at this very moment. Then if you start looking at everything we do, from training to coaching programs, the communities that we're building, the messaging that we're pushing out through our media arms, and the way we work with software developers, everything ties into that vision and that purpose. So
obviously the big things you do is going 3 days. That's a huge event. I know you said, I think the cool stat I think I've seen on it is you said 2/3 of the whole resort at Atlantis in the Bahamas is going to be nothing but people attending this conference, which is really great. So jump into some details on that, and I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, when we go to any venue, we have a requirement. We won't go to a place that we don't completely control. Now, obviously, we don't control the entire island, because there's vacation properties and there, you know, resorts, things like that. Besides that, there are about 4,500 guest rooms controlled by the Atlantis organization. But we do control 100% of the meeting space. We control 2/3 of the guest rooms, which is still, you know, meaning we're changing the nature for 4 days. And all of the grounds at night for our socials are controlled by us. All the meeting spaces, all the outdoor venues where meetings can take place, are all managed, and we're throwing these massive parties. As a matter of fact, T-Sheets, Citrix, and Avalera are taking over the largest club in Atlantis, and they just commandeered it for the night with a buyout, and all of our advisors are going there. There'll be, you know, hundreds and hundreds of advisors enjoying that party. But then we have more sort of quiet. I know it's going to be great. I know it'll be great. And the developers, as far as I know, are welcome to come in and attend. I don't think it's just attendee badges, but correct me, my team might correct me on that. But then there are more of the quiet traditional networking, like the Woodard Network Social, that'll be done on the grounds. Beautiful idyllic background with the palm trees and the ocean in the background, the cool evening breezes. But we'll be walking around outside right next to what is called the Atlantis Dig, one of the largest aquariums in the world, but definitely the largest in the Caribbean. Just a spectacular, and we've got a little piece of that as part of that venue. But then, you know, for the actual work of the conference, there will be 70 different software solutions on display. Intuit's going to have a gallery walk with 10 solutions, and then the Intuit booth has about 10 or 20 kiosks for all of its business units. There's going to be a demo center for demoing apps, and I believe, David, I don't know if you're running that selection process, but somebody on the IDG team is. And then so there'll be demos going of software solutions in that sort of featured way. It is going to be an extremely high energy floor, and all of our folks eat their meals in there, and we're going to have just under 1,000 certified pro advisors, the largest gathering of certified pro advisors in Intuit's entire history will be on that island in 30 days.
So just to hit that home run so the developers really understand what that means. So repeat the number again, how many certified pro advisors there are?
We're going to have just under 1,000 certified QuickBooks Pro advisors. We're 99.9% certified pro advisor on the ground.
Certified. So what kind of number would you project out? Like, what does that represent in small businesses? Right.
Right. In terms, so the average is 125 clients per attendee. And we've got everybody from the sole practitioner all the way to over 10% of the top 100 firms in the country. So obviously there's a big skew in that average. You know, they're going to be probably about 30 or 40 of our firms. The average across those 30 or 40 would be over 1,000 clients, and then in the top 10 in size, they would have over 10,000 clients. But you take that and you start weighting against, you know, the 30 or 40% that have 10 clients, and it averages out to a reach through the audience of about somewhere in the neighborhood of 125 per head. So 125,000 is your reach on small business.
Sometimes I've told developers it may even be more than that. I've always said it could be 250 or 300,000 because I look at the.
I'm being conservative.
Yeah, the pro advisors that attend Scaling New Heights, they're kind of the one percenters of the one percenters. And almost all of them go back to their hometowns. They run a meetup group. They're teaching other accountants locally that don't go to Scaling New Heights, and now those accountants have clients also. So I feel like the ripple effect of this is gigantic. It's hard to see until it's explained to somebody. They just see 1,000 accountants. I'm like, no, this is 300,000 small businesses. If you think about it,
they've already embraced Firm of the Future. So they're already online and they're already influencing their peers. And then there's various levels of that as well. But we have over 50 meetup groups that Woodard supports directly. It's detailed out in the Woodard Group section of our website. And of those 50 Woodard groups, we're going to have over half of the leadership of those represented on the ground. So it's not theoretical that they might go out and have a meetup. We know for a fact that there's a healthy percentage of our attendees that have Woodard-supported meetups. And then some of the others do meetups on their own. Many of the others have massive social followings. So the extreme examples would be people like Michelle Long, who have, you know, what is it, 250,000 people on our LinkedIn group. But for every Michelle Long skewing things upward, you know, everybody has some kind of a community. Everybody is networked with their peers. So the collective reach to other professionals is in the, you know, 5 digits, tens of thousands of, and then you have all of their collective user bases. You know, it's safe to say that when you influence the crowd at Scaling, you're influencing over 1 million small businesses if you look at the way you define extended reach, David.
Yeah. So you're taking my 300,000. I took your 125K up to 300,000. Now you're taking this to 1 million. Wow.
Right. Well, it's just because I know. No, you really can't. I mean, you really can't miss because I know. Just take Michelle Long as one example. I mean, that's hundreds of thousands of influencers because she doesn't have small business owners in that LinkedIn group. So you start taking that as the extreme high, but you realize everybody has sub-communities. And then Woodard's reach beyond the show, I have to remind everybody too that it's not just the 1,000 on the ground, but through the main stage for our developer partners participating there, we have over 5,000 simulcast viewers too. And so You know, some people are doing interviews with us. Some people are hosting general session experiences, and that gives them the reach directly to around 5,000 additional accountants, not even counting those that influence their peers when they get back home.
I also think there's even more of a ripple of an event like this, because to some extent, I know sometimes people talk about, oh, sometimes the accounting shows, they kind of feel like a family, but I also have seen the developers tend to get to know each other. They become friends with each other, and then they start either cross-blogging or start promoting. So the ripple effect of even attending is just even beyond the accountants. I mean, now you're reaching,
oh, yeah,
you know, other developers that you become friends with, and you're all vested in each other's success. And it's really important, I think, for people to be part of a community. And I have a blog post going live, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. And one of the things I bring up, I'm like, hey, there's communities online that are talking about your product, and you might not even know it. You know, and Michelle Long's group's a really great example of this on LinkedIn. It's hard. It has kind of a horrible name. It's really long. It has like 50 keywords in it, right? We all call it Michelle Long's.
Right.
But and LinkedIn has horrible URLs. But if you don't know it exists, you don't know that there's a conversation happening possibly about your product.
You need to go join that LinkedIn group so you can, you know, you can put in some triggers into whatever you need, you know, on your side, on your email client to trigger when you've been mentioned in one of those threads, and make sure your email client's picking up the chatter. However, you're going to monitor that. There are other tools that will, but yeah, you know what people are saying for you out there, and then the media is on the ground too. Accounting Today, CPA Practice Advisor, Insightful Accountant, and Accounting Web are all there, and they're all conducting interviews on the show floor. Many of those interviews are with developers, and then you have their extended audiences. In the case of Accounting Day today, I believe their readership is in the hundreds of thousands. And then Insightful Accountant, if you want a more targeted reach, this is a staggering number. Of the 100,000 U.S. pro advisors, Insightful Accountant engages with over 30,000 of those every single month. And we're not talking about that they signed up and they ignore. I'm saying that they go to the site and read at least 3 pages a month. So if you get to know Insightful Accountant while you're on the ground, then that's sort of a megaphone you can work through too. So between the media on the ground to partner with, your fellow developers, the just under 1,000 certified pro advisors on the ground, the 5,000 pro advisor certified pro advisor audience, and then, like you said, the peers that they go back and influence with their meetup groups. And then I'll just throw in again that we're talking over 10% of the top 100, right? You just reach one of those, and you've paid for 3 show campaigns, if the traction's deep enough. So yeah, I think it's valuable.
We're pushing that number to 2 million small businesses.
Oh yeah,
$2
billion small businesses, right? Exactly. But the point is, the ROI is certain, and I appreciate you helping me to kind of talk that out, David.
Yeah. So one thing that's been kind of fun, and it's coming out over time, is you kind of had your own TV show, Tech Makeover.
I did.
I've just shared the URL for that. I'll admit I have not watched every episode. I have to catch up now. I'm a little bit behind. So can you talk about that? Really going deep about it. Maybe if there's a spoiler, don't release the spoiler. But I think I think I told you before. It's really professional. It came out really well done. So it's kind of exciting to talk about like what Tech Makeover is and kind of how that applies to that one sliver of a TV series per se. Could be any of the pro advisors. That could be any of us. Well, not me.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And so, you know, the best way to describe Tech Makeover, I mean, we call it a reality TV show because that kind of draws audience. But what it really is, it's a video case study of a real pro advisor transforming a real small business through technology consulting. And we figured the best way to educate our community of advisors on how to do it is to show them one of what I would call a super pro advisor in action. So we recruited Patricia Hendricks. Patricia Hendricks is what I would deem a super pro advisor. Extreme product knowledge, extreme knowledge of the Intuit ecosystem. She has her own peer group here in Atlanta. And we've referred some work to her before, and she's, you know, the net promoters on her coming back on our feedback loops is always in the 80s. We knew that she was going to do a phenomenal job if we could recruit her in for this. The next thing we did was we picked the small business that we were gonna do a makeover for. That came to us kind of on a silver platter from John Taffer. John Taffer is the host of Spike TV's Bar Rescue, and he transforms bars one after another each week on the Spike TV show, kind of like The Prophet does or Restaurant Impossible, some of those shows. Well, he was our keynote presenter, or featured keynote presenter at Scaling 15 when we were down in New Orleans. And then we, by extension, got to meet this bar he had rescued in season 3, episode 1 of that show. So we approached the bar and said, do you have technological needs? And they said, yes, absolutely. We kind of identified all their pain points. We found out that John had done a great job revamping their facilities, revamping their infrastructure, coaching them on management skills, but there wasn't a technological emphasis to John's consulting work with them. They needed a new point of sale. They were still using desktop accounting software. They still had all these paper files, so they weren't a paperless company. And on their scheduling, they were still tacking a paper schedule that they were printing in Excel up on the wall, and they were making pencil annotations to it as there were changes throughout the week. Very, very, very old school, what my parents were doing back in the 70s with their restaurant. And so we identified the needs. Now, this is what's important. There weren't any tails wagging any dogs here. We identified the need. Once we identified the need, where our first priority was taking care of our client, we then went to the software providers who we know could help our client meet the need. On the paperless side, we approached several people to see what they wanted to do. Neat came to the table. On the scheduling side, When I Work came to the table. On the point of sale piece, we approached Intuit, and just like any other provider, they had to look at the whole ROI. Like, I mean, it wasn't automatic just because Intuit's my good friends, right? They looked at the whole thing, and they said, can we really help this? Is this a qualified place? Will our technology fit well? And we had already done that validation. And then Intuit, QuickBooks Point of Sale, powered by Revel Systems, came to the table, along with Qbo, payroll, and payments. And with all of those pieces, we had the making of a tech makeover. So we started in episode 1 documenting the evaluation of their need. Now, this is where you kind of use reality in air quotes, because we had done all this work before we ever arrived with the cameras, right? Obviously. But we dramatized.
They're all like that.
Exactly, right. We had not done most of the technology implementation. That did happen on site. But all this work that we dramatized for episode 1, we had done in the months leading up to the show. And I kind of told that secret a little bit in one of my cutaways. But we're walking through, and we're looking at the situation, and we're determining what software they need, which had all been done before. But then in episodes 2, all the way through the one we aired last week, we're putting the stuff in. And we started with converting them from desktop to QBO. That was step 1. Then we added payroll, we added payments, we added Neat, and we got rid of all those file cabinets. We scanned a ton of documents. And then we added When I Work. We got all their scheduling revamped, and we got all their employees engaging in that with the mobile app. And then as the very last step, we did QuickBooks Point of Sale, powered by Revel, and folded that in, because that was kind of their hub technology. We folded all of that into the other solutions they were using. And the only episode left to air is this coming Monday. It'll be our wrap-up episode where we're going through the value component with the client and what they're able to do now. Then the last thing I'll say on it, once all of that's done, we're going to be bringing those small business owners back onto the stage in about a month, and we're going to be doing a Where Are They Now moment from the main stage of Scaling New Heights. We'll have Patricia back up there. It's a really cool experience.
Awesome. Bring it full circle. So, make sure, I kind of lost count, but I think, so not counting QuickBooks, but if you count the Point of Sale, Revel, and you count Intuit Payroll, and you count When I Work, you count Neat, So a pro advisor typically is going to bring a suite of products in.
That's correct.
Let's be specific, right? When they come into a business owner office.
That's exactly right. They do. They bring a suite. It takes a village kind of thing with software right now, because and that's what's important. And everybody here gets this, but accountants, I'm having to constantly reinforce it, that QuickBooks Online is first and foremost a platform for small business that has a very, very, very capable general ledger solution in it, right? But it's the hub, it's the platform. This audience gets the platform approach. Accountants have to be constantly reminded, and once they see this, and that's one of the things we want to document out, that QBO plus QuickBooks Point of Sale powered by Revel plus When I Work plus Neat, whatever your plus is that you bring to the table, is so much more powerful than the contained features of QuickBooks Desktop could ever be. And we're trying to get the accountants to stop comparing that apple to that orange, and understanding that QuickBooks with its suite, QuickBooks Online with its suite, is going to qualify for almost any small business and medium-sized business in the world. Just the right suite of products.
And I think I've been framing that to not just developers also, right? Because some of them they haven't came to the light yet either. Some developers, but also with accountants. Kind of based on my experience with QuickBooks, if I go back a decade ago, you could take QuickBooks Desktop, you could customize it, you could make it it would be the right software for a bar. But at best, it was an 85% solution. And now, because all these apps and add-ons are available with QBO, you can offer a 100% solution. So if people really watch this video, they can really see the power of, here's the power a pro advisor can bring to a small business. And the way the pro advisor was able to bring that power is because of the apps, really, in the ecosystem entirely.
And that's why they need to have strong expertise on the handful that they've chosen that fit well with their advisor approach. And then they need to be partnered with their peers around the gaps, because they can't be all things to all people unless they are one of those big, top 100 firms. They're going to have to pick a category and then throw those other leads over the wall to others. And this is happening organically all throughout the community. They're very collaborative, and they form specializations and they cross-refer all the time. But to the point, yes, it takes a team, it takes a suite of products, and then it takes being very intentional with the client. And we did this implementation over the period of a week. We do not recommend doing that at home, right? I mean, we had about 20 people on the ground doing this work. So.
And that was not TV magic, right? That was truly a week.
I know that was kind of
the drama of the episode.
That's exactly right. We truly did all of it in a week. We did finish out a few of the pieces afterward. But again, we had about 20 different total people involved on the ground at any given time. And that's not typically the way that we would even deploy against an engagement if the cameras weren't rolling, right?
Anybody who's viewing, if you want to ask a question, the Q&A panel, feel free to jump in and ask a question that way. Jack, if you want any questions, go ahead and unmute yourself and fire away. If nobody has any questions, Joe, I think I have one final one I'll ask. We'll give the audience a chance to ask first, and then we'll kind of go from there. So,
and while Jack's thinking up a question, or anybody might be thinking up some questions out there, I want to say, because one of the big questions might be, are you doing another tech makeover? And the answer is absolutely yes. I mean, we're going to be filming again in the fall, and we don't know yet what the small business selection is going to be, but if you want to stay up with us on that, just I'm first initial last name at Woodard.com. If ever you're curious, just send me an email and I'll give you an update.
I have a friend here in Tucson that has a landscaping company, and they're still doing 4,000 paper time sheets. Really technical.
Well, and that would be a great fit for Intuit Field Service too. That could be our anchor technology. So that's throw it over the wall and see what happens. We'll entertain anything. So.
Awesome. Cool. So it doesn't look like Jack said he didn't have any questions. I don't see anything coming through on the QA panel. Triple checking that. Yeah, no questions came through there. Kind of in closing, so I'm a developer. I'm watching this. I'm watching it live. Maybe I'm watching this 4 weeks from now, right? And I miss Scaling New Heights, but I'm watching this 4 or 5 maybe a month, 2 months down the road. So I watch this, I'm excited, I'm ready to engage accountants. Like, what are the 3 things I should do after watching this video?
Okay, so absolutely. Identify your intellectual capital and inventory it. You know, what can you bring to accountants that will meet a critical educational need that they know they have, they crave? It is your Trojan horse to get into their busy lives, education. And don't make that about your product, make that about your category, make that about the niche you serve. After you've inventoried that intellectual capital, frame it out into some courses that you can present, and then present those courses with fervor. There's so many different vehicles. Insightful Accountant does webinars. Other groups and other thought leaders within the space do webinars. Host the webinars your own, push them through your social channels. But, just get the educational message out there. The second is, if you don't have a defined channel, like a program that accountants can engage with a certification test, with a structure to it, form one. And there are great models out there: T-Sheets, Live Plan, Method. Methods is more of a deep consultancy implementer channel. T-Sheets and Live Plan are more of a recommender and lighter engagement kind of thing. Fishbowl's built a really good recommender channel. So kind of model on what's happening out in the space. Don't start from scratch, but build it and start recruiting against it. This is the biggest mistake developers make when they run campaigns at my show or QuickBooks Connect or wherever they go. They're running campaigns where they're solely creating awareness for their product among accounting professionals. No. Your goal at the show is to recruit accounting professionals into your program. Period. Now, don't get me wrong, show your product, right? They got to know what they're signing up for. But the measurement is, how many accountants did we recruit into our program? And of course, there's a softer measurement of those accountants that are already in our program for years 2 and 3 and following. How many did we, re-engage with? How many did we re-excite? How many people we bring back to the table from sort of connections? But recruitment. And if you don't have the program, you have nothing to sell when you're at these campaigns. Now, you'll still get an ROI, but it won't be that measurable, because you're going to get a call from an accountant 3 years from now that saw you at the show 3 years ago, and they're going to give you a great lead, and it's going to turn into a sale. But tying that, where did I see him again? I don't even remember what show I was at. The program provides structure, and it provides measurability, so that you can defend against everybody from your VC funders to your board to just yourself, remaking the investment. We're going to build our channel program, our targets, from 100 members to 200 members or 300 members as a result of scaling new heights. Set that goal.
Cool. That's a great answer. Yep. It's a great number. 3 things they can do. Everybody, I'll try and maybe get those tweeted out or loosely tweeted out so everybody has those. So thanks again. Thank you. I love chatting with you. I think I might try to do maybe a future hangout. We'll maybe try to get you on again. Maybe bring on Ian. Maybe bring on Jim McGinnis. Maybe kind of do a Firm of the Future one. We'll bring on.
Oh yes, that'd be fantastic. Please.
I think the more developers understand what is a Firm of the Future and where things are headed, it's easier to figure out where they fit in that picture going forward. Yep. Because you're right. If your app is holding back that accountant, and that's a Firm of the Future accountant, you're just not going to get that business, right? And so you have to make sure you're aligning with those same goals of the new world, right? And the firms of the future. So we'll definitely have you back. I will 30 days from now in the Bahamas. So,
oh yeah, I'll see you there. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be our grandest show ever, and we've been planning this thing for 18 months, and we can't believe it's only 30 days away. So we're thrilled.
It's awesome. And then, and just like always, at every Scaling New Heights, you'll announce where it's at next year, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. On the Wednesday, if you're only able to tune in by simulcast, but on the Wednesday main stage event, which will be Wednesday morning, it starts at about 10 o'clock. We will, at the end of that main stage session, we will announce the venue with great fanfare. It's a pretty big production when we announce next year's show, and everybody will know where we're headed next. I can give you the dates. It's June 4 through 7, 2017. So.
Okay, so developers, mark that down for next year in case you're not going this year. If you've missed it, or it's actually
either way. Yeah.
It's on island. We missed the boat for this year. Start planning for next year. And I know previously I've been when you announce it, and the way you announce where the next location is, you know, people get the chills. It's really cool how you do it, and the anticipation builds up, and it's very, very exciting. So, and they're always great venues as always. Perfect. So, I'm going to let you go. Enjoy your weekend, Joe. Thanks everybody else for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week with Jared Keneally. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks,
bye, everybody.
Thanks for having me, David. All right, bye.